Welcome back to day 2 of the 5-day sugar challenge, how to break up with your sweet tooth. Yesterday was day 1, and we looked at the dark side of sugar. So make sure that you go back and watch that one because there was a lot of information, and I hope you had a chance to think about your typical day. How much sugar are you really eating? So definitely watch that one. Now, today we're talking about mistaken identity, and this one's interesting because often we go through a lot of different emotions and we don't necessarily realize the connection to the things that we're eating. Sugar often covers up things that are really deep. And again, like I said, it could relate to just food. But think about when you're bored. So, we're going to talk about some different emotions. But when we're bored, often we're like, okay, we don't have anything to do. So what do we tend to do? Often we go hunting up food. We're digging through the cupboard. And again, if we tend to have that sweet tooth, that's what we're going to go for. Another emotion is loneliness. And by the way, you can feel lonely in a crowd. There isn't the connection with people. And so sometimes people have a sense, actually greater sense of loneliness. Maybe they don't know people. Maybe they know everyone in the room, but again, they don't have that connection. So that's a time sometimes we turn to eating. Fatigue is another one. We think that sweet thing is going to give us energy. That's a common one, particularly in the afternoon, different times. It's not time for a nap, but yet we're tired. Stress is another one, frustration. Those are big ones. You've, had a little bit of an argument with someone. That sense of, all right, let me go get something to eat. And like I said, if you have a bent towards sweet things, then that's what you're going to go for. You'll hear of people binging on the sofa watching Netflix and grabbing a carton of ice cream and eating the whole thing. Think of how the media portrays sweets. You'll see kids at a birthday party and they're laughing and playing and having an amazing time. The birthday girl is blowing out her candles, there's frosting everywhere. But we don't see those same kids 2 hours later when they're arguing and they're fighting and they're mad at the birthday girl. We don't see that side. We see people celebrating, maybe at a retirement party or some event, but we don't see the headache that happens later or the insomnia that they can't go to sleep. We think of we need if I just had that, that can of pop, I could finish this report. But we don't see that crash later. Sugar crashes are a real thing. And often late in the day, people can't complete their assignments, they can't get their work done, which tends to lead to even more frustration. Sugar affects our emotions, it affects our brain and how we think. And a lot depends on your personality. Someone that's more of a melancholy type of person, it's going to maybe affect you where you are more drawn to be more reclusive or feel the loneliness or the separation. Several years ago, I heard a story that has always stuck with me because I worked in education, elementary education to be exact, for over 20 years, and seeing the effects of what sugar does on kids. But several years ago, I read an article and it was talking about a principal of a large inner city school on the East Coast. And her health was a mess and the pressure of her job. And so her doctor told her, if you don't do something, you aren't going to make it. And she was probably in her late 40s, early 50s. So she was young. And so she started cutting out sugar from her own diet. And she began to see the effects of how much better she felt, more energy. She started losing some weight. And so she thought, if that could help me, what could it do for the kids at school? So she made a very bold decision and decided to change everything. But interestingly enough, they started to see changes in kids. There weren't the reports of kids, having outbursts in the classroom. There weren't the number of kids coming to the school nurse saying, my stomach hurts, my head hurts. All of a sudden, there weren't the fights on the playground like there used to be. And the biggest one were the test scores the following year. Those were from this previous spring, but they were now getting the results. And those scores were starting to go up. And a lot of the teachers who had been very, very resentful started getting on board and they started noticing changes. Sugar affects our mood, it affects our behavior. And sometimes something very small could be handled differently if we hadn't had that pop middle of the day. Are you that person that immediately is opening cupboards and looking for a chocolate bar or making yourself, a drink of whatever? Are you that person that goes for the ice cream in the freezer? We have to make sure that we're getting our emotions where they need to be. But again, a lot of times the sugar in our diet is pushing us in that direction. So begin thinking about it. What are your emotions saying to you? All right. So definitely, if you missed yesterday, check it out tomorrow. So day 3, it's what's sugar got to do with it? I'll see you on day 3 and make sure, watch your emotions, think about how sugar might be affecting you. Until next time, this is Coach Maggie, certified health and lifestyle coach, wanting you to live an amazing, abundant life God's way by just taking those everyday steps to change diet and lifestyle so that you can live a victorious life. Take care, and of course, as always, God bless.